You know my story, right? Rise to fame from the pain to glory, right?
You want to build a community, what is possible, and you know what you can do. And again, like we're just the fact we're sitting here in the corner in this art gallery, you know what I mean?
Like, that was very strategic. So yeah, it was a couple weeks ago I met well, John's been doing his shows here, so I've been coming to his shows, but I'll come in and come out and go back to York. And then recently I came over with Rob and I sat in that seat right there and I interviewed Rob right here. And it all came into clear picture in 5 minutes for me. Like minutes, instead of seconds. And I texted John. I was like, talk to Rob and Josh. I was like, I want to shoot the podcast in the gallery for us. So let's do it. So every Tuesday we're booked here.
That's
and
awesome.
We're showcasing because I just love the back. And every single person. So this morning's been 2 locals and then 3 coast to coast over time zones over Zoom.
Okay.
Every single one of them within 5 seconds was like, where are you?
Right. Dude.
And I was like, because everybody's used to those stale like Zoom things.
Yeah.
And I was like, John and I were like, we need something. And we did a studio here in Westchester. Personality, I'm not an artist in the sense of this. My medium is communication and stories and things like this is what I've been doing for my whole life, my art form. But I conceptualize art. I can conceptualize that and then give it to somebody and they can create it. What I'm trying to get at is we went to the studios and it was too rigid for me. Like it was too stuffy. And I was like, and John was like, what do you think? I was like, I'm fine with the episodes we shot. I said, I don't think I want to shoot anymore in there. It wasn't a good energy. It wasn't a good vibe. It was like, it felt like it felt like an assembly line. Because then I went online, everybody had the same background we had. And I'm like, nobody's like doing this kind of thing. It's always like, oh, we're in a studio or whatever else.
And I was like excited to see that it would be here. And like you said, kind of just not only getting away from just doing like the Zoom call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like you said, you're there and like, okay, well, it's like your family room or your back.
That's exactly it, dude. It's like, and for you guys and for everything, it's this. And I like, from the beginning of meeting John, hearing about what you guys have been doing over here, I was like, I want to be involved because it's like, this seems like the nucleus to what's happening in this area. And it's like this and other sort of places like this. But really, this one keeps being called back. And when I walk around downtown, you know, they do a great job promoting themselves and stuff like that. So it's really, yeah, it's very strategic to be like, all right, we're going to shoot it. We're going to shoot it here. And we're going to tie everything together. And look for us, too, look around as our launch party where we're kind of, for him and I, showing each other, you know, it's a business I've had since 2008, but it's not this new brand and this new strategy is all different.
Right, new direction. It's a new chapter.
Yep, this business worked out here for years ago when I worked out here and stuff like that. So it's a don't call it a comeback. We never left kind of scenario.
Yeah, man. I feel like, and that's just the way this life works and timing of things, and it all comes together.
Like you said, man, this is a great little snapshot, but I feel it across the country. There's like a real vibrating like shift happening for authenticity and original content and original relationships. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I think we get kind of wrapped up, and it's easy to like look at the negatives and thing, and you have stuff on the news and on social media, this and the third. But I think it speaks to the point you said that it's just like people are questioning things. They want to be themselves. Mm-hmm. They want to be their authentic selves. And it's not even like going against, it's not like this like rebellious thing, but it's just like the curiosity of wanting to know and wanting to be like, okay, I'm not saying you're right or I'm not saying you're wrong, but like, what's the why? And how, you know what I mean? Like, we want to know. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know?
It is, man. Dude, life is, and feel free as we're talking, you can curse or whatever else. I don't care. And like, I'll just say it, like, when you're fucking driving through life is a highway. Let's take that old phrase, that cliche fucking phrase. Life is a highway is a very generalized way to say it. It's one lane. Route 66, Route 30, whatever you want to say. Life isn't that. Like, that was the old life.
Yeah. Right.
Now life's a fucking Autobahn, multi-lane, like
we got roundabouts, dude. We got on-ramp,
jug handles,
dude, for real.
Billboards, radio, street workers.
You want to take the back road, scenic view, like all that. It's all there.
And I think that's what you're like doing. That visual and creating that visual allows a lot of people to get scared, and a lot of people get scared because, like you're saying, it's like, when somebody doesn't like their community, and this is not a dig on anybody, I'm going to stick to what you just said. It's like, this is me living my life. And in the past, I'm 39. How old are you?
I'm turning 28 this month.
Perfect. So you've seen a little bit of it, but and then for a long part, it's been filtered out. So to be really honest, from when I was 19 to 29, It was a very intense corporate world where it was like, be like us or get out.
Oh yeah.
And it's still like this a little bit, but I see it a little bit loosening up a little bit because I'm realizing you can't kick everybody out.
No, it's crazy that you said that because I had a phone interview today and I was talking to this lady and I'm like, I like to work hard. Like, I like to work in teams. I like to find solutions, this, that, and the third. And I think I kind of come a little bit like of an old soul. But she's like, well, I just want to let you know, like, this isn't going to be like a corporate office setting. And I was like, perfect. But like you said, there's this whole era. And again, she's thinking based on my age that my idea of I like to work hard and I like to grind is like this corporate grind, sit at a desk, like boom, let's crush these numbers. So that's so funny that you say that because I totally agree.
It's like, it's really like, I've always taken this in life and with my business is like, I don't pay people, I don't bill by the hour. And people are always like, why don't you bill by the hour? It's like, well, lawyers do that and this and that. I'm like, because I'm not creating original things. And it's not an art form. I'm creating strategy. I'm creating business plans. I do a lot of the back end things for people and it's creation.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I charge you on the value of what I'm bringing to you. And it's the artist mentality. And
that is.
Yeah. Because if an artist charged the hours, there might be some that are an expensive piece of work. And there might be some that just fucking struck them in the moment and might be worth 5 minutes.
and that's where, that's totally the artist mindset because I have a hard time because you said it's more about the value. There are some pieces that admittedly takes me 30 minutes to do. And if it just flows that way and it just happens.
You shouldn't be punished for
I
that.
should not be punished for that. There are some pieces, and that on the other hand, it's like there's some pieces that might take me 2 months. And I might not be working on it constantly, but I'm also like, okay, just because it took me 2 months, so now you should pay an absorbent amount versus the one that just flowed. So it's like the value that it brings.
Yep, that's awesome.
That.
That's cool.
I dig that.
That is so. Tell me a little bit about your stories. And if you live here locally and stuff like that, and pretend this is just us sitting here.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
So I'm born and raised in Westchester.
Nice.
I went to Westheimer Thornberry Elementary School. Middle of 5th grade, I switched over and I went to Glen Acres. And then you get East High School graduate. I did go to University of Maryland for a year. And I knew at the time like that wasn't my path. That wasn't my path. And they only want the best for me, but like my parents, I think it's like school. It's
the way we were all raised.
School, and that goes back to what you said that you like, bro, do this. And again, I think especially from my dad, and it was more so like it's like, bro, I've gone through and I've survived life. Go to school, and you won't have to survive life. You have to live. You'll get to live it.
And our parents were taught that lie. The lie that like my whole family's blue collar, and my mom went to school. Well, she went to college when I went to high school to be a teacher. My dad always worked in General Motors, and I was working in Levittown, so like Bucks County and stuff. Yeah. And he worked in Trenton, and then we moved to West Virginia when he got transferred. And that was exactly it. He's like, his whole life, he was always like, listen, I never got to choose anything. Yeah. I never got to choose when I went to work. I never got to choose my step up. And he was like, you got to go to school. You got to get that degree because what he was taught was the degree is the differentiator. Yeah. It's not your brain. It's not your personality. It's only that piece of paper. And they spent an entire generation drilling that into theirs, which then trickled down to this, which then trickles down to this. And I recently had a conversation with my 13-year-old son who went to a STEM camp this summer and like is like immersed into it now and is totally hooked into robotics and STEM and programming. And he's like, Dad, I want to go to tech school. And I was like, oh, I didn't know what tech school was. I only knew my version of tech school, which I was like, well, let me just check that out real quick. Like, I didn't say no. I was just like, I have no clue. Let me absorb and learn, and let's circle back in an hour or whatever. And I go and I learn and I look at it and I'm like, wow, tech school could not be any different than when I was in school.
And then and even just the mindset of it, because I know even when I was like, I wish I would have just went to tech school. And that's what was crazy to me. Like, I grew up and like I admired my dad. My dad was a contractor. He worked with his hands.
So same thing. My whole family admire everything they did. Yep.
And so even in that part was like kind of weird because I'm like, yo, dude, like I admire what you do, and like you're very skilled, and you may not be school educated, but like you are educated in that You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in that regard. But again, it goes back, like you said, that program and drilled into
Yeah.
like, do this, school that, because like you said, it came down to not being able to make choices. And they wanted, my dad's like, yo, I want you to be able to choose and do whatever. I think and I'm getting back to it now as I'm older. I've always known that I wanted to create stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I knew that when it came time to pick schools. I knew like all I wanted to do was create stuff.
Yeah.
And I was at that time I was super into music. Just making music, producing, recording like all the time. But and I learned later too, like my dad had kind of somewhat explored that path. He had some stuff. And I think that's where too almost like that fear kicks in of like, yo, I kind of went down that path. It didn't work out. From what I've learned, bro, just go to school, get a degree, and you'll make money or whatever.
Right.
And now again, I'm looking and I'm like, but damn, dude, like I see you work with your hands. I dig that. You know what I mean? I just like creating stuff, but here I should go get a business degree. Oh, okay. Like, all right.
Yeah.
You know what? And I did like I did well in high school. You know, I was fortunate for that, and it wasn't. I won't say like I tried very hard, but I did well. I had good grades, so I'm like, you know what? And I want to do everything big.
Right.
Like I want to do everything big.
But just like the art, you didn't have just because you got good grades doesn't mean you had to try hard. If you got it,
if I just
made sense.
100%.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it, and I went, applied to a bunch of schools. I ended up getting accepted to the University of Maryland. And I didn't even I always like preface this, and not that it should even matter, but I'm like, I didn't fail out of school. Like I did, my grades were fine.
I was on academic probation for 5 years. So you're good. I barely made it out.
And that's what's crazy, right? The kids that were there, they were like, yo, man, C's get degrees, bro. I'm not tripping. But I knew C's get degrees. Like, I don't even care. I just need that.
Yeah.
They're just like, I just need paper.
And that was it. Yeah.
I knew after that first year, I was like, man, if I do this for another year, like, I don't know that like I'm coming home. Like, so I'm like, I gotta like hit Audible. And then life started happening. And I started making bad choices. Like straight up.
Okay, right, yeah.
I started making bad choices. And I think I was going through. So prior to me going to school when I was in high school, I'm just jumping in.
Go ahead. Trust me.
We're diving in, bro, and it's crazy, and I think it's cool, and like
I'm a year and a half sober for a reason. I got stories too. Don't worry, and I share them on my podcast. Yeah,
so
you're good.
And if you're anyone who sees this, whatever the fuck you're going through, I know that shit could suck and it might not make sense, but I promise you, it leads you somewhere. And it's so hard to say to people sometimes, like, yo, just hold on and have faith, because like on the other side of this shit, like it's happening for a reason. Just don't quit. As long as you don't quit, you don't give up, man, and just see tomorrow. See tomorrow every day. See tomorrow. It'll line up. So my dad, when I was in high school, had relapsed. And at that time, I'm 13, but like I'm trying to figure out who I am as a man. Yeah, I'm trying to grow or whatever. And now like my superhero it's gone. And now like the guidance that I'm looking for.
You're gonna get me emotionally. I got kids. You're good, man.
Right,
you're good.
We're here, dog.
Good.
You know what I'm saying?
Good.
So that it's gone. Like it's gone. And I don't think I didn't have the awareness at that time to like understand it like I do now. So you're just angry.
Yep.
I'm just pissed off again. Like what I thought in my mind is my superhero, that's wiped out. So like, if I can't believe in that, what the fuck do I believe in? And now like I'm angry and I hate you. Meanwhile, like if anybody were to watch this, they'd be like, "Yo, is that Mike? Like, is that Mike or Nick? Like what?" Because I am so much my father, both my parents, but I'm so much him. And again, I can say now, like I'm proud of that.
How long did that take? And what was it what was that revelation moment where you decided to reconnect and look past that?
What reconnected us? When I got arrested. That's what really reconnected. And so in my mind, right, I'm so mad at you that I'm you. but I can't see it in myself because I don't want to be you because I hate you. So anything that is similar to myself, like I'm just blinding it. So I'm like, oh, this will again, you're not being taking care of your responsibilities, but like I'm not being responsible. You know what I mean? Oh, you were getting fucked up, but now I'm getting fucked up all the time. And I'm also trying to tell myself it's not gonna happen to me. Like I'm better than you also. Then you fast forward, like I said, I go to school, whatever, and then my dad, like he got sober. I go to school, cool, I come home, I start bugging out, I'm wilding. And I wound up getting arrested here in Westchester, in Little Oak, Westchester. And that's another crazy thing of just being where I'm at now. Like, there's probably people that have seen my mugshot and they might not even know it or whatever, that like have been in the corner and have been or seen my art and shit like that.
Number one thing I struggle with, and I appreciate you bringing that into the picture, is people's perceptions of things. Like my dad and I talk a lot about like my history. Now, my history was very much like your dad's and yours combined so far. I don't know the details yet, but I just want to say that it's very similar trajectory, and also from the relationship with your children. So I felt what you were bringing up there very much. And in the sense, though, I also felt the positive hope of it is that, when you get through the next day, when you get past it, there is a connection on the other end. If you don't give up and you don't shut the door on a relationship with somebody and you let it be temporary, there is a future. And that alone is powerful. Let alone what else you're going to say. Like the fact that how many kids, like I've been to funerals of dads that drank themselves or drugged themselves to death and never reconnected with their kids. And to have a place where somebody introduced sobriety is not a weakness, but a strength. And
and this is on, a personal level. Like we just had somebody very close in our community that passed away. And I was fortunate to meet them a couple months ago. And they had shared how, they were disconnected from their son. And, afterwards I was able to speak with them. And I was like, when I was your son's age, from what you described, like I hated my dad and I never wanted to speak to him again. I thought, and I'm like, I can tell you now, and it's 8 years later, dude, but I'm like, me and my dad are closer than we've ever been. And I'm like, I just hope that like you guys will get that chance to, to get that reconnection. Because like you said, it's so powerful. And I know everybody's situation is different and what you go through. And I can only speak on my own experiences. Like that's it. But I do always try to encourage people because I'm like, trust me, I've seen my dad in public, bro. And it's like, we're about to square up or like go the other fucking way. You know what I mean? And that's crazy. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? But like, so I understand that, like, that resentment, that hurt, that hatred and everything. But that's never, like, hate has never served me. And I've never been good. Some people, like, they're great with that motivation of hate. They could, before a sports game or whatever, they're like,
manufactured.
Yeah. For me, that's never, it doesn't serve me well, dude. It takes me down a bad path. Like, and if I'm hating other people, then usually something's going on with me. So yeah, that old hating people. I had when I was in outpatient rehab, it was hating and despising or whatever, presenting people as like drinking your own poison or something like that. Like they don't give a shit about you, so why the hell are you even worried? They're not thinking about you at all. Literally. Because the reason you don't like them is because they're consumed with themselves or whatever else. Like they're not thinking about you. Literally, 100%.
And until they get to that moment, like your dad got to that sobriety moment and got the self-reflection, got his like life together, and not life together. And like, I hate when people say, get your shit together. It's not that.
Right.
Your shit can be together. Your shit can come apart at the same time. Like, they're not mutually exclusive actions.
And you realize that, I'm like, dude, I'm in rehab with people that got $0 in their bank account. Yep. I'm in rehab with dudes that, they paid cash in advance for 3 months. And I'm like, how much money you have to do that? Yeah. So like you said, you can have it together. It's about what's going on in here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, they would always say, like something they'd always say, it's not, you don't have a drug or a drinking problem, you have a life problem.
Yep.
Like, you don't know how to handle life.
And that's a whole different path. And those are typically those are the people that cannot find their footing in sobriety. Yeah. And that's where the ones that it's just life is a problem. Life is the issue. And it's like, and they're trying to find it in sobriety, but you need another layer. And unfortunately, when you're in that path in sobriety, your financial situation is probably fucked. Your health, start, right? Yeah. And your health insurance is probably not there. And you to like expand outside of back to the multi-lane highway, you know, AA and all that stuff, while I love it to an extent, it also is a singular path. It is a singular lane. It's not a multiplex highway. It's not fit for 2024. I'm not religious. It is not a great place for people who aren't religious.
And I've heard like, so I hear that from like a lot of people, and I'm not like, you know, full disclosure, like I don't go to meetings or anything like that. And I'm not even in like recovery like that actively. But from just what I hear from other people, it's almost like it's like a cult, and that's a turnoff for them. Yep. And I also I do think though, like with anything, you gotta be able to kind of take what works for you and leave what doesn't. You know what I mean? I think I've been to a lot of meetings in my life, and there are definitely times where you're like, yo, tell me something. Shut the fuck up, bro. Like, dude, or again, you're like, yo, that, like, I don't know if that's helping anybody in this. Like, are you helping or are you hindering people? Like, you might have, but these kids are gonna literally just leave and just relapse after the shit you just said. Like,
in an hour.
Right. Like, they're like, what the damn, you're right. I am a piece of shit. So, like, fuck.
There is no reason for like that's the thing is that people don't realize if you continually put that in somebody's head while they're trying to make themselves better, they will believe it 100% and it will become permanent.
And you have these people where, you know, if you got 30 years of sobriety, which, yo, mad respect to that. Like, that's crazy. That's mad dedication. But somebody with 30 years of sobriety is not thinking the same way as somebody with 30 years. And I'm like, you've been in the game, you've been around long enough, like you should understand that. But it's kind of like, yo, I have 30 years of sobriety. Like, again, I would never miss this, or I don't ever, you know, do this. You don't care about your life, and you're like, damn, bro, like, you're kind of, you won't discourage people, like, you know what I mean?
No, that's probably. Let's shift gears a little bit. I appreciate your openness on that. I appreciate it because I tell you, it's not often that I get to talk to people that actually look at sobriety in a gray area. And so when I say gray area, I mean in the sense that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go find God or you don't have to go find the bottle. There's a lot of other avenues in between those two options. And I think that I appreciate meeting different people like that. And there is a group to give credit to AA, and that, if I will publish this, on the AA website, if anybody is out there, it's not necessarily always physical, but there is a virtual secular version of AA that is anti-religion, and it's actually carried by the platform on their website. It's little known and it's not known, and they unfortunately, you're good, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's good looking at
the vending vest, dude. What do you got there? I'm like, dude, I got candy, business cards.
I'm like, you got black coffee, some bad candy in there. I'm good to go. Take me back to a full sensory experience. Shitty coffee, stale cake, and bad candy. Well, dude, walk me through we'll hop off the sobriety and the parties, and let's go to the art. And let's go to your style, your process. I already, as we're looking behind here, you're not a singular medium. So walk me through all the different mediums and your world, man.
So I definitely art is my journal. Yeah, like I say that, like the canvases are my journal. And I think, like you said, there's not always a distinct style. And I think if you were to look back through like your journal, the pages are not going to be the same. Like there's no way. Dude, the pages are not the same. You know what I mean? And I definitely, the more I create, there are definitely certain things that come back over and over. One of the things, like the little circles, dude, it's this basket that I have. And that's something that people, like, every time I post a video, people dig that. And that
you're using the base of the basket.
it's literally the basket. And there's holes in the bottom of it, and I literally hold it up.
Oh, nice.
And that's a huge thing I think that comes into my art. Cool. And that part of it is like, I didn't go to art school. I don't have an art degree. And a big part of what I create, I don't want you to think I have an art degree, because I don't think that fucking matters. Anybody is an artist that creates. Like, art is a desire to make things. Mm-hmm. You know, you're an artist. You have a desire. Your podcast, that's you creating things. So I don't ever try to stick inside of any rules, because I think that's ridiculous. That's how is there rules to making art? Like that just seems like nonsense to me. So for me, it's a 100% like raw release just of my emotions. Awesome. And what I have near me, what's going on. I think that brings me even back to to growing up and stuff. I never went without anything. Like, I'll make that clear. I never went without anything, and my parents worked super hard to make sure that. But like, Westchester is an affluent area, and there would be like times where, you know, kids, they got the newest shit or whatever. I played lacrosse. Kids would have like 6 bags of sticks, and I got like tape on my head, and I'm like, and it's like, whatever. Like, I'm not.
You got what you need.
I have what I need, 100%. And that comes through in my art. Like, I look around the studio and I'm like, okay, how do I get this point across with what I have? And whether if it's using the basket that I use, you know what I mean, or whether my mom is always like, yo, why don't you get rid of this like trash or this stuff or throw this out? And I'm like, for me, it's not. Like, you see this guy, you know how many empty spray paint cans I have? But in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be something.
And see, the problem is sometimes people would take that, and I'm going to speak from my experience where I've held on to things because I've done projects or for my thing, it reminds me of something and it triggers a memory that then triggers ideas. Yeah. So it's my muse. Yeah. Now it gets out of hand sometimes, and I've had to purge some things and make some room. But for people to understand that aren't in that creative mindset, there's a inventory of assets, which is what I look at, that stuff. And then there's clutter and hoarding, for sure. And I feel like what pisses me off is when people look at it all the same as clutter and hoarding, when really it's assets and inventory for your muse. I mean, sure. and for whatever else. And that basket is not just a basket; it's a tool.
Literally, and I've used it over and over. And I was literally just saying to my buddy the other day, I'm like, I had it at his house because I was painting. I was like, bro, I had to come get it because I had this painting and it's like finished. But it's not complete until I can hit it with the basket, bro.
I have 2 types of pens that I can only use, and I get neurotic if I don't have to.
Because my mom right now is probably pissed because I know for a fact I didn't put her specific Sharpie gel pen. And dude, she's the same way. Like, and that's the only one. Like, the only one she writes with, that's her thing.
It's the only thing I get worked up about too.
Where's my pen?
Because I'm left-handed, then it smears all over my hand and it just ruins my day.
Yeah, that's too funny. We got our specific things. Yeah. I think everybody does.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Some people have a lot of them, some people have one. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that's like whatever your thing is. Hey, you got your thing, I got my thing.
Yeah, man. How about your process? You said you went to your buddy's house. Are you, like, my process is gypsy and nomadic. I don't work well if I'm like stuck in a studio all day long. How are you? Do you have a studio, and what's your process?
My studio is the basement at home.
Yep.
What is my process?
Do you use your phone when the idea comes through? Do you write it down? Like, how do you, when that idea hits your brain, how do you log it?
I don't. Okay, I'm usually very I gotta do it.
Oh, that's how you log it. You just take action.
For sure.
Nice.
Look, you see, right? I took a shower before I came here, but then I still end up with paint on me because I just I go down my basement, I see something that I could add or whatever, and then it's just like, do that, you know what I mean? And then I'll leave at the house and I'm like, paint again. Like, there's always paint on me because I'm just always things coming out. I think I get it's my brain. Like, and I don't say this like, obviously I get so much inspiration from life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just my everyday life. And I think that ends up just dumping onto the canvas. When I first started, I was doing a lot of pour paintings. And honestly, I think the reason I first got into that is because I felt like I could control it. And I wasn't comfortable enough with calling myself an artist, having no training. But I'm like, you know what? I can mix these paints together. I can pour them on a canvas. It's abstract. So the outcome is like whatever. And then
there's a comfort there and a protection to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a comfort, there's a protection. But then I found myself getting to a spot where I'm like, I want to express more. Like, I want to express more. And I'm like, in order to do that, like, I'm going to have to step outside of this. And then again, that's when like it challenged that idea of what is art. And I'm like, I can't let. My life has been amazing. My life has been beautiful. My life has been every single thing I think that it's supposed to be. But like, you got to take what life gives you and you got to be able to make it something that you can, I don't even want to say like that you can benefit from, but you got to be able to really take the things that life gives you and make something good out of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think about that in every situation, no matter what card you're dealt, no matter what's going on, like, you got to be able to find the gratitude in that. Again, use what you have. We always want more. And I think that's part of like my artistic process too. And it forces you to get creative. I could easily just like go to Michael's and be like, okay, you want exactly this color, or I want exactly this brush, or I want exactly that. But when you are like, yo, this is what I have, how can we get creative? You know what I mean? And instead of that, kind of puts you in an abundance mindset. I'm not like, it's not that I don't not have the tools I need. I got everything around me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I might need to think about it. I might need to get a little creative. But I think that's also when like I grow as an artist. I just did a commission the other day, and when this girl described the commission, I need a red and white thing to give as gifts. I said, a red and white thing. Okay. And then she, you know, we kind of just talked about it a little bit more. And
Technical discovery meeting.
A red and white thing. I'm like, all right, that's like leaves a lot open, you know. And at first, and I think, right, fear is such a huge thing. So at first, like, what the fuck? I don't know what that means. So now I had no direction. Like, what am I going to do? Oh, I'm not. Look, you know. She explains a little bit. You know, it's about the specific singer and what this piece is. And after a while, you know, I go home and I let the wheels spin and again get rid of that fear. Like, dude, it's fucking painting. It's art. First of all, no one's gonna die here. No one's gonna get hurt. This is not heart surgery. Like, it'll be okay. But two, because it was something that, again, like, I wouldn't have. That's not something that would have ever landed on my desk with my own thoughts. Yeah. But now, because you're bringing that to me, like, I gotta go outside of the box. Now I gotta think differently. Now I gotta try some shit that I probably would have never tried before. And at the end of it, it was sick, dude. And I'm like, yo, this is so cool. I'm like, I won't lie, I would not have been painting these flowers and making Billie Eilish stencils. And I guess I've never thought, it wasn't until recently, and like my friends, we joke about it, but I'm an only child, right? Right. So like sometimes I almost don't understand it. Even like my friends, like they want to be around you like 24/7. But they want to do shit all the time. And like they don't even want to do shit. They just want to like, yo, let's like be together. I'm like, for what? We can watch TV. So I have a great idea. I'm gonna sit at my crib and watch what I want, and you're gonna sit at your house and watch what you want, and we'll both be happy because we're doing what we want to do. No compromises needed. No transportation. Nothing, bro. Like, I'm cool. I'm cool, yo. And I think that's so funny because that is a huge thing. I'm definitely like cool on. I've been so cool on being on my own, And I've spent so much time with myself. Like I talk to myself. Like that's been like I've literally had to entertain myself.
The good part is though, at your age, when I was at your age, I hated myself. And then I began to fear the time alone. So I'm now in this place, and I would say 6 to 10 months maybe of embracing the being alone, and like going back to realizing, and I really fucking appreciate you bringing it up just now, because I have really been toying with like, oh yeah, that was a superpower that I allowed guilt and shame and self-doubt and lack of confidence ruin.
And I think that's like natural, because I even like high school shit, right? You don't fit in with the group, you don't do the group shit, like you don't get invited to the group party. I'm the only child, so I'm like, I got my own fucking mind, my own thoughts. I'm gonna say my own how the fuck I feel, and then I don't get invited to the parties. And there's like that, I'm like, wait a minute, do I like suck? Am I like a loser? Right. As I got older, and again, I don't think it was until I even got out of high school and like kind of grew a little bit, where I was able to realize, like, wait a minute, I don't suck. And it's not nobody sucks. Yeah, but I'm like, wait, I don't suck. You guys suck. And that's why, like, you just wanted to hear people that agreed with you, or you know what I mean, that just blew. Or again, that didn't, like, you guys weren't actually looking out for each other. You know what I mean? You didn't actually care for each other. Like, I'm like, I care about you. So if you're going left and you need to be going right, I'm going to say that. Now, again, if that gets me put on the outskirts,
your dad can speak to this, and probably, I mean, it sounds like even though you haven't fully with that, you start to cut your losses with certain people in your life when you go through sobriety, and that's where you start to realize where your friends are. You realize who was really there and who just. For me, it was that, and also at that time in my life, I was a successful alcoholic. So I was closing bars and doing bar stuff because I was representing breweries, and then I was still there at 6 a.m. doing pitches. No, people might, in the hindsight, be like, I knew you had a problem. Nobody knew. Right. Like I put them down. I like in college. There was a night, Cowabunga Johnny can tell you, I had 52 beers in a night. And we did the marker, and the other buddy Brian he was the coach. So he took the marker and slashed my hand of each beer so that I wouldn't lie. I woke up the next morning with all of the marker spots all over my face because I fell asleep. But my point of saying that is not a brag. It is in the sense that when you get to a place where you take that layer and that superficial piece of your relationship with people away, and like that piece of what it is that they really wanted. And I was actually talking with Elise Acoustic about this. And she was saying how, you go out and she's a very loving person. Like, and sometimes I said, well, does that ever get you burned? Being such a giving, loving person. And I said, she's 19 years old. I'm 39. I said, I can tell you from my 20 years of experience of freaking messing up and being successful, separating love and giving, the loving and the giving, it'll weed everybody out. Because if you show love to people and just show love, and if you combine that with giving, you get taken advantage of. But if all you're showing is love, those people don't care about love, and they become disinterested and they disappear from your life. But the ones that love, if you just keep giving, but you tie them together, you are constantly creating the connection of love and giving, and then making them the same and not mutually exclusive. And that's when I always got burned. Financially, relationship,
100%. And I find myself too, like, am I doing this because because I care and I'm able to look out for you, or like if this is going to literally like set me back or be like a burden to me, then I need it. Like I need to love myself enough to be like, yo, I can't just do that. Like I can't just put myself out there. Now, if I'm cool, I can do it. And you may burn me in the end. I will say, like, you can't burn me in that sense, because I really was only trying to look out for you.
There's always a gamble, though.
And now I've learned. So it's like, let's just, like, for example, cool. I don't need the $100. I could lose the $100. It is what it is. I give you the $100. You say you're gonna give me the $100 back, and you never do. Cool. Like, you'll never get the $100 from me. I didn't need the 100 anyway.
Right.
You'll never get 100 from me again. I'm grateful that you didn't ask me for 1,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I gotta keep it pushing. You still gotta live with that shit.
Yep.
You still, you know what I mean? And if you're still moving that way, like you probably need $100 next week still.
There's probably 20 other people like you waiting for their $100 back too.
100%.
And not just waiting, like expecting whatever else. Yeah,
for sure. But you're definitely right about that. And there's, like you said, there's that balance. And again, just people, whether they're just taking advantage.
Well, it's the same thing in art. When I started this business, was starting it because the musicians were getting rolled over in Philadelphia and they weren't getting paid their fair share. But they were always accepting whatever rates gave to them because they were just happy to make the sale and they were happy to go out and play. And I went in and I said, fuck this. I said, you're all ass. Because I worked with those. So my issue was, I worked at the brewery side of things. So I knew the bookers from the brewery side of things. I also knew how much volume they did because I saw the point of sale system. And I would be calling out automatically.
Wait, we paid him what?
Yeah.
After we made what?
Yeah, and this fucking band brought 100 people in that never known your place existed, and you walked in, you gave them $150. It's like you gave $1 a door, and then I started breaking it down to him. Then I started breaking down the bands, and I'm like, that's $1 a head over here, blah, blah, blah. Like, you should, if anything, you should tell bands, you'll give them $5, one beer, whatever it is. Everybody's going to buy a beer. So $2 of every beer should go to the band. So, and I started
shout out to you for advocating for
I started doing rev share. I started doing rev share with bars and restaurants. Here's where it was. It was an hour before the show. So I would book the show. And then they would extract it because my business mindset, I went into their point of sale system. I said, here's the agreement, draw all that paperwork. And I said, every show that FreeMind brings here, an hour before the show and an hour after the show, I get 15% of all the sales of this place. And they would always be like, well, what? I'm like, I'm not going to charge you the posters. I'm not going to charge you the handbills, but I'm confident in knowing we're going to fill this place. We're going to have a great time. All these people are going to go home and they're going to come back. You win in the long run. Right. I'm only asking just 5 hours.
Right.
I'm bringing 50, 60, 70, 100 people in here that are going to come back again and buy more. So even if you don't make any money tonight, you know you're going to make money on all the returns. And they get it. Some get it. Some get it. Not a lot get it. And so that's, to be honest, I'm actually going out and doing the same thing here probably next week or so. And telling places like, I'll come in, I'll set you up, and I'm getting ready to tell Nikki later tonight and stuff like that. Like, and whatever she wants, I'm sure she'll jump on board with it too. And it's like, I'll do the hard work. I'll negotiate the contracts, negotiate all the agreements, but we all have a sharing is caring kind of setup.
Yeah.
And you walk in and like somebody like Elise or somebody else, or even a show. Let's say we're doing a Meet the Artist show, and we have a bar or a restaurant that maybe it's Corner Collective, Rob and them, they're doing their things, so they're placing things in different places.
Right.
We do that, and it's a Meet the Artist night. And from that night, it's a rev share during the event. And it's like no tickets, free to get in, but it's a rev share on whatever money you spent inside the place.
100%, because that's something like, even I do a lot of vending and stuff, and that's something that like, I go back and forth in my head, and I feel I'm grateful. And I feel like I'm so early on into my artistic career too, where not like I gotta do everything, but I want to get myself out there as much as possible. But I'm like, every event, every place, no matter what the fuck it is, they want visual artists and they want musicians. And then they turn around and they say, yo, bro, so we want.
Where's my wallet? Where's my wallet? I can't find my wallet.
Dude, we have a sick show tonight. We want to have vendors. It'll cost you $50. How the fuck do you want to have artists? And I know, again, you're hoping like I'm going to invite my friends out. My friends are going to come and see me. They'll come to see the band. They're buying drinks. No, you know what I mean? But you want the artists to pay to come to your spot that's going to generate money by me being there? Again, maybe I don't have enough.
It was 2007. No, I can tell you, it was 2010, 2011 when that mentality really set in. There used to be, it wasn't 100% creative and collaborative, but it was never what it is today. Where it's like, your job is to come here and promote my business, and you can pay to be here, and we're going to give you, the best is, well, we're going to give you exposure. Well, no, motherfucker, I'm giving myself exposure because you just said you need me to draw the crowd.
Right. So, like, dude, literally, it's crazy.
We'll be having a lot of conversations, man. I'm not going anywhere. And, as far as this goes, I got a lot of fun stuff.
I think that's so cool. That's so awesome. Like, I remember I did an art show, and for me, I the King of Personal Mall in the Coach store.
Oh, very cool.
And I was like Thank you, bro. Yeah, that was very cool.
Talk about that. Like, what they were doing, like an immersion experience or something like that. Or?
Yeah. So one of my real good buddies, works at Coach. He's worked there for a while. So kind of through that, like a bunch of his coworkers and stuff, they had started to follow me and whatnot. Because my boy, shout out to Mike, yo, he's always showing love, always reposting stuff. Yeah. So his coworkers seen that. They were kind of trying to do their own rebrand where they're trying to get back with the youth and kind of give coaches cool again. Like, which they do. They have some cool stuff. So they had this artist and they wanted to do, or they had a line of bags that were coming out and they wanted to do like a release for it.
Oh, cool.
And they kind of came together and were like, yo, Mike, would your buddy like be down to do like a pop-up? And I was like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? This was like a year ago. So at the time, like I was only even painting for like a year. So I was like, absolutely. So that was super cool. Went into the store and like pretty much I paired all like paintings that matched like the different bags. So
nice.
You know what I mean? They had like blue duffel bag that had like blue paintings here, man. And just kind of made it so like, as you were shopping, like you were getting a shopping experience and like an art museum experience. But part of that, like I said, straight from the jump, I'm like, if I'm doing a show, I need music because music for me, like that's everything. 100%. Number two, I am 100% hiring the music. Yeah. Like,
yeah, you don't put that down.
I'm hiring the music and number three, it needs to be in the budget. Like that it needs to be in the budget. And like that was so important to me. Like, and I know for a fact, I got my boy paid more money for that fucking 4 albums than any club in Philadelphia, in Westchester is fucking paying them to play any night. Yeah. But for me, that was like important. And, and I feel like that also just goes in the philosophy. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I just magically got a new coach. Again, like that was my boy. He worked hard to get to his position at coach. They had an idea. He's, cool enough to be like, put my name in the hat. On my end, I'm doing enough. I'm putting out enough work where I can back that. He can put me on, then I can back it. And then again, for me, I'm like, okay, cool. You guys are putting a budget together. I'm hiring my friend who's a DJ. I'm hiring my friend who's a photographer. Like, and we're gonna build this community, bring it all together. And again, the artists are gonna eat. Like, we're not doing a show in the Coach store, and we're not gonna compensate. Like,
and so many times, like not Coach, but just any brand in general expects you to just be happy for the exposure. Right. And the thing is, I appreciate, I respect, and I love the confidence in what you're doing. It's not lost confidence. You have the receipts. And the fact is, it's bullshit. And I've called them all out on it. And it's like, I have no problem toe to toe saying to people, like, artists have been abused and used by corporations and brands for too long. Yeah. And it's one of those things where they're done being a pawn, or they go dance to your monkey, go dance. Like, that's what this is. Yeah. And it's over. And it's one of those things where when I was in the beer world, I was bringing artists in for all kinds of different things. And the budget was always funny because it was like, oh, we're spending this money and this money. And all of them were like, well, they're coming from all these people, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we're paying them to be here. They're not paid, like we're going to pay them to come. And they're like, well, they're going to sell something. Yeah, but also they're going to pay them to be here because they're bringing the value back to the value in the very beginning we talked about. It's not that, they're coming for 90 minutes. It's, they're going to come, and from a business standpoint, they're going to bring $15,000, $20,000 in business in 3 hours. And let me tell you what, from a marketing standpoint, from a budgetary standpoint, you tell me how many outbound phone calls, emails, billboards, radio ads you need to do that. A lot. The reason is, when you bring an artist in, it's a fucking unique experience. Everybody loves it. It transcends social classes, which not many things can.
And that's where, and it comes down to, like, I know, like, even for myself as an artist, I'm like, I know what I bring. And sometimes I find that sometimes it's almost hard to quantify. Mm-hmm. Like, I will say that because, again, I'm like, dude, I listen to house music. I love fucking house music. House music, fucking, it's a great vibe.
Let's kind of come back to an EDM and everything, yeah.
100%. That is more like
I'm like, wait, that's a TV commercial. And they
My
got a little house.
stuff that was playing when I was in high school is coming back, and I'm like, yes.
They got a little house track back there or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, I'm doing this and we're having this because I trust my vision. And we're in coach, dude, we're in this designer store.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. I understand what your concerns are. One, like, I'm not gonna do any nonsense,
Right.
no bullshit. But every single person that walked in that door, every single employee, I wish we had this all the time. You got old ladies, you got dads, you got kids, you got moms, and they're in there and they're dancing. And I'm like, again, look, for me, right, it's creating an experience. My art, I journal, dude. That's my journal. I get it all out there. But beyond that, I'm like, I want to create an experience for people. You know, I remember the first time I did an event and I sold nothing, made $0. And I'm like, with this in mind, how do I make sure that the day is still like a win?
Yeah.
And I'm like, by making it a positive experience for others. If you have no money in your budget to buy anything, I still want you to be able to come to my booth and be like, that was a cool experience. I got to see some cool stuff. I had a cool conversation. I got to read something cool. Same thing. If you come into that coach store, like, I want you to feel good. I want you to be able to, whether it's music, whether it's the dance, like whatever.
A lot of people don't realize that that's the goal of any artist. And that's being me, that's being you. Like, for my podcast, I don't care if I have 1 million views on a video. What I care about is, which is the truth, every day I get an email or a message on some platform from somebody that's affected by an episode that I put out.
Dude.
And I got goosebumps when I tell it to people, because and I know that I can feel it from you, is it's the same thing. It's like, I don't care if you buy it, but if it made an impact where it brought you present and grounded you into this earth and made you realize you're a human being and you're feeling something, having a feeling that's it.
It's like, I can't say it any better. And those are the experiences, and don't get me wrong, right? Like,
money's important. Money's
right?
important. Let's not be stupid. Money
is
equals freedom, all that other stuff.
100%. And for me too, like, I even think if I were to get $1 million right now, I mean, I think I would fucking just like paint and spread the message.
Right.
Exactly. Because that money would allow me to just positively impact more and more people.
We'll go to
all right, before we go to the one thing I have to talk about is woke up and won, because that's the most important thing in my life.
That's perfect.
So
go for it, man.
Shoot, let's go right into it. Right, go into it. Look, you see, I got it on my T-shirt.
Nice.
I literally have it tattooed on me. I remember my mom, she was like, "Are you sure you want to get it tattooed?" And I'm like, if there's anything that I am more sure of in my entire life that I want to keep with me, that I want to believe in, that shit, if I ever forget and I need a reminder, it's that if you woke up, you won. And that goes back to, again, like, me making bad decisions, living crazy. And I don't think I ever actively wanted to take my life, but the way that I was living was so clear that I did not value my life. And if tomorrow did not come, that would have been totally fine with me. That's how I believe. And then I got arrested. And at that moment, I thought I lost everything. Right, like, money is gone, freedom is gone, reputation, whatever's left of that, gone. Like, I'm literally at nothing. And in that moment, the only thing I can count, like, I'm like, I need one thing on my scoreboard. Like, I need something on my scoreboard. And I'm like, what's that? I woke up. And I'm like, ain't this some shit? I thought I had everything. I thought I'm the man at the party. You think you're this, you think you're that, boom, 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 and you don't even care about waking up. Don't even care if tomorrow comes. And now here we are with nothing. We're on zero. But the only thing that matters is I woke up. And I'm like, that's the first thing I can be grateful for out of the day. Like, I opened my eyes and just immediately I woke up. That's one win. And then for me, every single thing I can be grateful for is a win.
That's awesome.
Everything you can be grateful for. So cool. I woke up, boom, that's a win. And I woke up in a bed. That's a win. I woke up in a bed with a roof. And there's food.
Wi-Fi, whatever,
whatever. I feel like shit today, and I know the difference between feeling like shit and feeling good.
There's days where I'm taking that mentality. From this moment, I'm not bullshitting you. I love that, and it's that.
If you woke up, dude, you won, and just keep stacking wins, and that's just something that, like,
again, I feel like
How do you get the message out?
through my art, dude, and I feel like this
That's
is
awesome.
a vessel for the message for me. I feel like it's a vessel. It's obviously, my merch, I try to do as much with that. And I go so back and forth. I always want to make creative art, like outside of that, you know what I mean, and do my own thing. But I do really feel like that's kind of like my calling, and that's a big reason to be here. Like, you were talking about the experiences that we have with people. When I get those text messages or those emails that, I haven't left the house in 6 months, and I ended up coming out, and I went past your booth, and I saw that if you woke up, you won. And dude, I needed that. That shit is gonna keep me going.
So you incorporate that into your artwork as well as like the merch around it.
Absolutely,
Nice.
absolutely. I do a lot of pieces that include whether it be the words or the logos in it. And I try to remind people, as much. And that's something that I want, like, I need to figure out, and not even for my own selfish reasons, but I know how much it has positively helped me and how much it's kept me going. So part of my goal and my passion is to make sure that I can spread that message as far and as wide as possible.
You put one up on the scoreboard, man. I should have been dead numerous times, and I have had dark moments, and it wasn't. And what you've said to me, and just seeing that right now, we'll talk offline and figure out a way to scale that merchandise and get that message out there, more so than just that, because it's not about the money. When you brought that up just now, it's that draws the eye in. It could reflect there's a lot. We can have another conversation separate. We'll be talking about that. Because that's aside, your art, yes, obviously we do that, but that is
and that's what's, to me, again, if it wasn't for my art, I wouldn't be sitting right here with you. But again, it brings us to this conversation, and that it's a vessel. It's a vessel, whatever, you know what I mean? It gets here. And this was a sketch, that I did at one point, and I think it all comes together because, again, it's not some super complicated thing, dude. This is raw. This is literally a sketch I had. I ended up scanning it, and now it's on t-shirts. People got it. I've had other people reach out to me. Would it be okay if I got this tattooed? And I'm like, wow, I'm like the tears.
Seriously, what a compliment,
right? You know what I mean? And that's what I want, because I know the headspace of being in a spot where it doesn't seem like a win. And I also know the headspace where nothing can muddy my waters because I woke up and I know I had that win. So that's just something that I'm passionate about sharing. And
we'll be doing, make sure we'll talk about this too. So in the camera there, just tell everybody, Look Around Festival, Music and Arts Festival, coming up August 24th.
August 24th. Absolutely.
Where they can find you and everything like that.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. Look Around Festival, Westchester, Pennsylvania, August 24th.
24th, you got it.
24th, all day long. Artists, vendors. It's an absolute community affair. Whole community affair. Shout out to you. Look, speaking of which, we got the man with the plan right here.
Excellent.
So make sure you check it out. It's really cool. We're going on our 3rd year, and I think this just encapsulates all of the cool things that we got going on in Westchester, the love, the creativity, the diversity. Again, make sure I'm keep chilling. Look Around Festival at the Moose all day long, August 24th. Make sure you're there. Me, myself, I am Nick Myers, aka MyersMadeIt, aka the Grateful Guy. Here to tell you that if you woke up this morning, that means you won. Keep stacking wins. Stay blessed. Much love. Thank you again for having me. And gratitude is the attitude, baby. My man, Pots and Pans.
That was awesome.
That was great.
You know my story, right? Rise to fame from the pain to glory, right?